Nestled in a lush valley, surrounded by rolling hills and thick forest, lay a small and serene village. This village, though humble, thrived on its proximity to a wide, glistening river that snaked through its heart. The river was both a source of life and mystery for the villagers. Its waters provided sustenance, enabling them to fish, irrigate their fields, and draw fresh drinking water. However, this lifeline came with its share of unease. The river was shrouded in legends, whispered from generation to generation, about the enigmatic mermaid who guarded its depths. The villagers respected the river with a blend of reverence and fear. It was said that the mermaid, a spirit bound to the water, demanded an offering from every traveler who crossed her domain. The offering was simple, food left at the riverbank, but it was vital. The elders would often recount chilling tales of those who dared to cross without an offering, only to vanish without a trace. These stories, carried on the current of time, kept the river's ominous reputation alive. Amid this tranquil yet eerie setting lived a young man whose curiosity and charm made him a beloved figure in the village. Known for his adventurous spirit, he often wandered the nearby woods, exploring paths others hesitated to tread. Despite his bold nature, he had a kind heart and a strong sense of duty toward his family. His parents, while proud of him, often worried about his tendency to challenge boundaries. He was the type to question the old tales, wondering if they were mere superstitions meant to instill fear. Every year, the village came alive with the annual festival, a joyous celebration of unity and tradition. It was a time when music filled the air, stalls overflowed with delicacies, and laughter echoed across the fields. The festival was a beacon of light in the villagers' lives, drawing them closer as they honored their shared heritage. For the young man, the festival was more than an event, it was an opportunity for adventure and new experiences. However, little did he know that this year's festival would lead him down a path of danger and self-discovery, one that would test the very core of his beliefs and spirit. As the preparations for the festival began, the river's silent presence loomed, a reminder of the power it held over the lives of those who depended on it. The excitement in the village was palpable as the annual festival drew closer. The streets buzzed with activity as families prepared their best attire, and villagers worked tirelessly to decorate the square. Amid this lively atmosphere, the young man at the heart of the story felt a thrill he could barely contain. This festival was more than just a celebration, it was a break from routine, a chance to experience something extraordinary. For him, it was the highlight of the year, a time to indulge in laughter, music, and camaraderie. The thought of joining his friends and experiencing the festivities made his heart race with anticipation. However, as his excitement grew, so did the voices of caution from his parents. His father, a man who believed deeply in the traditions of the village, reminded him of the legends surrounding the river. "Do not forget the mermaid's rule," he said firmly. "Take an offering if you plan to cross. Respect the river, or you may regret it." His mother, ever protective, added her warning, her voice tinged with worry. "You know the stories are not just tales. They are lessons from those who came before us. Promise us you'll be careful." While the young man nodded in agreement, inwardly he felt a twinge of doubt. Could these old stories truly hold any weight in the modern world? He admired his parents' wisdom, but he couldn't help but wonder if these warnings were relics of a time long past. To him, the legends seemed exaggerated, meant to scare children into obedience. As the festival approached, his friends, a lively and daring group, began to exert their influence. They were less cautious, laughing at the notion of an angry mermaid punishing travelers. "You don't believe that nonsense, do you?" one of them teased. "It's just a river, not some magical realm. We've crossed it dozens of times, and nothing's happened." Another added, "Come on, this is our chance to enjoy the festival. Don't let silly stories hold you back." The young man felt torn. On one hand, he wanted to honor his parents' concerns, on the other, He didn't want to seem weak or overly cautious in front of his friends. Their confidence and dismissive attitude toward the warnings made him question his own apprehension. After all, they seemed so sure of themselves, and the lure of adventure and friendship was hard to resist. Finally, with a mix of excitement and hesitation, he made his decision. "All right," he said with a grin, masking his lingering doubts. "Let's go together. I'm sure it'll be fine." His friends cheered, their enthusiasm infectious, and the group began making plans to cross the river early on the morning of the festival. Unbeknownst to him, this decision would set in motion a chain of events that would test his courage, loyalty, and belief in the old tales. As his parents watched him leave with his friends, they exchanged a worried glance, their unease growing. The river, quiet and still, awaited their crossing, holding secrets that would soon unravel. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of gold, the young man set off with his friends, their laughter breaking the stillness of the early morning. The excitement of the festival filled the air as they walked along a dirt path that wound through the village and toward the river. Each step brought a mix of anticipation and unease, especially for the young man, whose parents' warning still echoed in his mind. But his friend's carefree chatter was infectious, easing his worries with each passing moment. When they reached the river, the group paused. The water was eerily still, its surface like a dark mirror reflecting the sky above. The usual sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves were absent, replaced by an unnatural silence that seemed to press down on them. The young man hesitated, his heart quickening as he took in the quiet, foreboding scene. He could feel the weight of the legends about the river and its mysterious guardian, the mermaid. One of his friends clapped him on the shoulder, breaking the spell. "Come on, it's just a river," they said, grinning. "You're not scared of some old fairy tale, are you?" The others laughed, their confidence bolstering his resolve. With a shaky smile, he nodded and followed them as they stepped onto the rocks that formed a natural crossing. The water lapped gently at their feet, but the young man couldn't shake the sense that the river was watching them. His friends moved quickly, their laughter and teasing cutting through the oppressive silence, while he carefully balanced on the slippery stones. When they reached the other side, a wave of relief washed over him. "See," one friend said. "Nothing to it." As they continued their journey, the mood lightened. The path meandered through open fields and clusters of trees, the scenery changing from dense greenery to vibrant bursts of wildflowers. The air grew warmer, carrying the tantalizing scent of roasted food and fresh fruit. Soon, the sounds of music and laughter reached their ears, and the festival came into view. The village hosting the festival was a kaleidoscope of colors and energy. Stalls lined the streets, brimming with handmade crafts, fresh produce, and steaming dishes. Musicians played lively tunes, their melodies mingling with the hum of cheerful conversation. Children darted between groups of adults, their laughter ringing out like bells. The young man's eyes widened with wonder as he took in the scene, the warnings about the river now a distant memory. He wandered through the festival, marveling at the intricate decorations and sampling the delicious food. Villagers from all around greeted him warmly, and he quickly became the center of attention with his charm and easygoing nature. His laughter was infectious, and his stories captivated those who listened. It wasn't long before a small crowd gathered around him, drawn to his magnetic presence. Among the festival goers, his friends watched with a mixture of amusement and something darker. Their smiles grew tighter, their laughter less genuine, as the young man continued to bask in the admiration of others. One friend nudged another, whispering under their breath, "He always has to be the center of attention, doesn't he?" The other nodded, their eyes narrowing as they watched the young man laugh with a group of strangers. As the day wore on, the tension among the friends became palpable. While they had initially been excited to share the festival with him, his growing popularity stirred a quiet resentment. The young man, unaware of their jealousy, continued to enjoy the festivities, relishing the freedom and joy of the moment. He had no idea that his friend's admiration had turned to bitterness, setting the stage for the fateful events to come. As the festival drew to a close, the young man and his friends began to prepare for their journey back to their village. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the colorful stalls and lively streets. The air was filled with the lingering sounds of laughter and music, but the young man's heart grew heavy as he recalled his parents' warnings. The thought of crossing the river again brought a subtle unease, though he tried to push it aside. As they approached the riverbank, one of his friends pulled out a small cloth bundle containing leftover food. "Got my offering ready," they said casually, grinning. Another friend followed suit, revealing their own carefully packed morsel. The young man froze, his mind racing. He had completely forgotten to bring anything for the mermaid. In the excitement of the festival, the legends about the river had seemed distant and unimportant. Now, they loomed large in his mind, their weight pressing on him like a physical burden. "Wait," he stammered, looking at his friends in desperation. "I didn't bring anything. Can you share some of yours?" His friends exchanged glances, their expressions hardening. One of them smirked, clutching their bundle tightly. "Sorry, no can do. I barely have enough for myself," they said, feigning regret. Another chimed in, "You should have thought about that before. It's not our fault you forgot." The young man's chest tightened. "Please," he begged, his voice trembling. "Just a little. I didn't realize. I don't want to risk it." But his pleas fell on deaf ears. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," one friend scoffed. "It's just a story to scare kids. Nothing's going to happen." With that, they crossed the river one by one, their laughter echoing behind them as they disappeared into the fading light. The young man stood alone on the riverbank, his heart pounding. The water before him was unnaturally still, the surrounding air heavy with silence. He tried to convince himself that his friends were right, that the legends were nothing more than village folklore. Yet, a deep unease rooted him in place. Suddenly, the river rippled. At first, it was faint, barely disturbing the glassy surface. Then, the ripples grew stronger, spreading outward in unnatural patterns. A cold breeze swept through the air, sending a shiver down the young man's spine. Before his eyes, the water began to part, revealing a figure rising slowly from its depths. The mermaid emerged with an otherworldly grace, her dark hair cascading around her like liquid shadows. Her eyes, glowing like distant stars, locked onto the young man with an intensity that froze him in place. Her presence was both beautiful and terrifying, an undeniable force of nature. "You dare to cross my river without an offering," she hissed, her voice reverberating like the deep currents of the water. It was a sound that seemed to reach into his very soul, filling him with dread. The young man stumbled backward, his words stumbling out in a panicked rush. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I didn't know. I forgot. Please forgive me." The mermaid's gaze did not waver, her expression cold and unyielding. "Ignorance is no excuse," she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "My rule is simple, and you have broken it. Those who cross my waters without respect must face the consequences." He dropped to his knees, his hands clasped in desperate prayer. "Please, I'll bring an offering next time. I'll do whatever you ask, just let me go." But the mermaid was unmoved. "There will be no next time," she declared. With a swift motion, she reached out, her hand as cold as the river itself, and grasped his wrist. The young man gasped as icy tendrils wrapped around him, pulling him toward the water. "No. Please," he cried, struggling against her unrelenting grip. But his strength was no match for hers. The river seemed to come alive, its current swirling and churning around them. As he was dragged beneath the surface, the world above faded into a blur of light and sound. The last thing he heard was the mermaid's voice, echoing through the water like a haunting melody. Disrespect will not go unpunished. The river grew still once more, its surface unbroken and silent, as if nothing had happened. On the opposite bank, his friends walked away without looking back, unaware of the fate they had left behind. The journey back to the village was filled with uneasy silence for the protagonist's friends. Their earlier laughter and bravado had faded, replaced by a gnawing sense of guilt and unease. By the time they reached the village gates, they had decided on a plan. They would tell everyone that the protagonist had stayed behind at the festival. It was a simple lie, but it would shield them from suspicion. When the protagonist's family noticed his absence, concern quickly turned to alarm. His mother, her heart heavy with worry, began asking everyone who had attended the festival if they had seen him. Each question was met with confusion or a sympathetic shake of the head. His father, a man of few words, grew more grim with each passing day, his shoulders bearing the weight of a growing fear. The friends, when confronted, feigned innocence. "We thought he was right behind us," one said, their voice tinged with feigned worry. "Maybe he stayed a little longer to enjoy the festival. He seemed so happy." Another added, "We didn't think much of it. He probably stayed with someone else for the night." The explanation placated some of the villagers, but not the family. Days turned into a week, and still, there was no sign of the young man. His mother began to lose sleep, her eyes hollow from nights spent sitting by the window, hoping to see his familiar figure walking down the path. His father scoured the village, visiting neighboring settlements and searching the woods, but every effort ended in despair. The elders of the village, who had seen many strange occurrences in their time, began to speak in hushed tones. "The river has taken him," one murmured, his voice laced with certainty. "This is not the first time someone disappeared without an offering." Another elder recounted similar tales, weaving a narrative of the mermaid's wrath and the consequences of disrespecting her rule. Their words spread through the village like wildfire, rekindling old fears about the river's curse. The young man's family refused to accept his fate. "We will not stop until we bring him back," his mother declared, her voice trembling with resolve. The father, though stoic, nodded in agreement. "There must be a way to plead with the mermaid," he said. "If she has him, we must face her." Determined to defy the odds, the family sought guidance from the village's spiritual leaders. They visited the wise elder who had long been the keeper of ancient rituals. The elder listened to their plight, his expression grave. "The river is not just water," he said. "It is a boundary between realms. If you wish to speak with its guardian, you must do so with reverence and courage." He instructed them to prepare a sacred offering, fruits, grains, and flowers arranged in a ceremonial basket. He also warned them of the risks. The mermaid is not easily swayed. Her anger is as deep as the river itself. But love is a powerful force, it may be your only chance. The family worked tirelessly to prepare, pouring their love and hope into the offering. The villagers, moved by their determination, gathered to show their support. Prayers were offered, candles were lit, and songs of courage filled the air. When the time came, the family stood at the river's edge, their hands trembling but their hearts resolute. As the water glimmered under the moonlight, they called out in unison, "O guardian of the river, hear our plea. We have come to honor your rule and beg for the return of our son." Their voices echoed through the still night, and the river began to stir. Ripples spread across its surface, heralding the arrival of the mermaid, who rose slowly, her expression unreadable. The family knelt, their offering held high. "Please," the mother said, her voice breaking, "return our son to us. We will do anything to prove our love and respect." The mermaid regarded them with a cold, calculating gaze, her silence stretching into an eternity. The villagers held their breath as the confrontation began, their prayers mingling with the gentle rustle of the river's currents. The family's love and determination shone bright against the darkness, and the river seemed to listen. The family, grief-stricken but resolute, prepared to confront the mermaid. Guided by the village's spiritual elder, they assembled a sacred offering, fresh fruits, grains, and flowers arranged with care. The elder warned them of the risk but emphasized the power of love. Her anger is fierce, but so is the strength of a parent's heart, he said. The villagers, moved by the family's determination, gathered by the riverbank to offer their prayers and support. Under the light of the full moon, the family stood at the river's edge. The mother, her voice trembling, called out, "Oh, guardian of the river, hear our plea. We bring this offering with love and respect. Please, return our son to us." The still waters began to ripple, and a cold breeze swept through the crowd. Slowly, the mermaid emerged, her presence both regal and terrifying. Her piercing gaze fell upon the family as she listened to their pleas. "You wish to take back what is mine," she said, her voice echoing like the river's currents. "If your love is true, prove it. Cross my waters without support. No bridge, no boat, only your courage and devotion." The villagers gasped at the challenge. The river was deep and treacherous, its current strong enough to claim even the strongest swimmer. Yet, without hesitation, the family stepped into the icy waters. The mother held her husband's hand tightly, their love for their son driving them forward. The current pulled at them relentlessly, each step more difficult than the last. The villagers watched in silence, their hearts pounding with fear and hope. Just as the family faltered, their strength nearly gone, a miraculous force stirred. A soft wind wrapped around them, steadying their steps. The moonlight seemed to illuminate a path through the water, guiding them to the opposite bank. The villagers cheered as the family reached the shore, their love and perseverance shining like a beacon. The mermaid, moved by their devotion, softened. "Your love is pure and unyielding," she said, her voice quieter now. With a wave of her hand, the young man appeared, weak but alive. "Go, and honor the river's rule," she warned, before sinking back into the depths. The family embraced the young man as tears of relief and joy flowed. The villagers rejoiced, their faith in love and courage renewed. The young man's return to the village was met with an outpouring of joy and relief. His family embraced him tightly, their tears of gratitude flowing freely as the villagers gathered to celebrate. The mermaid's warning lingered in everyone's hearts, and the once dismissed legends about the river were now treated with solemn reverence. The young man, though weak from his ordeal, shared his harrowing tale, urging the village to respect the river and its guardian. His friends, unable to escape their guilt, were confronted by the young man. With the truth exposed, they admitted to their betrayal and begged for forgiveness. However, the villagers, deeply disappointed, chose to ostracize them. Cast out from the community, the friends left the village, their lives forever marked by the consequences of their jealousy and deceit. In the days that followed, the village embraced the lessons learned from the ordeal. Respect for the river and its traditions was renewed, and the young man became a symbol of resilience and forgiveness. The community grew stronger, bound by a deeper understanding of the importance of love, unity, and the balance between humans and nature. The young man's experience with the mermaid also brought about a quiet shift in the villagers' perception of the river. While they still feared its power, they began to view the mermaid not as a vengeful spirit, but as a guardian deserving of respect and reverence. Her actions, though harsh, were a reminder of the importance of harmony and responsibility. As life returned to normal, the young man and his family found peace, knowing that their love and determination had overcome even the most formidable challenges. The river, once a source of mystery and fear, became a testament to the enduring strength of courage and love. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe our channel.